Hello, Internet. Good morning. I'm Ryan Ingram, and it's Friday. We get to talk real estate for a little bit. This might be a shorter one, but that is okay. I am happy that we're all here. And I'm trying something new today. I opened up these blinds yesterday and dropped the kind of studio vibe, and it's just natural daylight. It feels fun in here. So, yeah, if the glare gets too bad, I'll probably close those blinds because the sun is pretty intense, but it should be done rising here in a little bit. So it's Friday morning. Any of the real estate questions that you have, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, so I guess while you all are thinking of questions that you might want to ask, I will go ahead and get everyone caught up on everything that we're doing. We learned a really valuable lesson. We are doing a refinance of about 44 properties at the moment. It took us about 2.5 weeks to complete all those appraisals. It should have taken one day. And the delay was in our ability to coordinate with the appraiser. Nope, not the ability to coordinate with the appraiser, our ability to coordinate with all of our residents. And the large portion of all of the issues that we've experienced were solely due to the fact that we did not have copies of the keys of these properties. So oftentimes, whenever we purchase properties that we inherit the residents or they come occupied, however you want to word it, we don't really get keys conveyed at closing. So generally, it's not a big deal. But this time it was. So there is that. So from here on out, just one of our standing things that we're going to do that I would highly recommend that you do as well is each time you purchase a property, just make sure you get a copy of the current keys that go along with it, even if it is occupied. So at the end of the day, all you have to do, at least here in Ohio, under Ohio law, is post notice 24 hours in advance that you are going to enter, and you can forcibly do. You can get into the property. If they're not there, you can use your keys. Unfortunately, what we had to do that caused everyone to comply, but we went and posted this second time around. We went and posted notices that said, we're going to enter on this day at this time. Please give us a call and give us instructions on how to enter. If not, we will enter either with a key or by changing the locks. And then, failure to comply with this may result in eviction. So we don't like saying things like that, but it should have taken 1-2 days, and it ended up taking 2.5 weeks, and it was pretty tiresome. And we have the right to enter properties that we own, so it was just a little bit frustrating. So that's our big lesson of the week. Fortunately, we were able to wrap up the inspections this past Wednesday. So now we hope to close on or around September 10th. So we're pretty excited about that. That's going to be, again, 44 properties for us. So that's going to be a big swing. Good morning, Terry. Happy to have you here. Let's keep the conversation going and join the Reddit community if you haven't already. I'm a huge fan of that. We actually had some good conversation in there. Let me figure out how to share the screen for the Reddit, the Talk Real Estate group. Oh man, there's a few things that I haven't seen yet. Let's see. This is fun. This is pretty exciting. Let's share screen. All right, here we go. So this is the Talk Real Estate Reddit community. Again, this Friday morning live stream. I mean, it is on Fridays and not all week. So let's just keep the conversation going. I really want to get to know you all a lot better and have more of a conversational platform so that anytime you think of a question, either myself, someone in the community, or one of like another moderator of the community will answer it. So that way you don't have to try and remember on Friday morning to ask something and run the risk of something coming up, you not being here, or even worse, forgetting your question. So that's why I think this real estate thing or this Reddit community is an awesome idea. And again, gather around to talk all things real estate investing, share knowledge, experiences, and most of all, encouragement. I know a lot of the times, I think the biggest, not necessarily complaint, but one of the biggest points of frustration of almost all of the real estate investors that I meet are just like, hey, my network of friends has no concern about this. I actually get discouraged each time I talk to them about real estate investing. So, I mean, most people that I run across, and you can see it from these introductions, it's most of the things that most people, what they want is to meet people who are already achieving their goals or on their way to achieving them, just like-minded people, really. Yeah, I mean, it's like-minded people. It goes a long way. Who you surround yourself with is definitely really important. Let's see. There's one that was pretty cool. This was a good conversation that was had. So one of the people that posted here in this community says, "I'm currently trying to plan my next acquisition to get to 10 doors by June of next year." So that sounds, pretty aggressive. I have 4 units as of now, so now it's not sounding so aggressive. And I'm starting to refinance on it in November. My biggest hurdles right now are strategy and capital. I think the refi will take care of that, but I'm also wanting to get another property before then. Any advice on what you would do in this situation? Yes. So, able to talk about this. I wrote a small novel here to answer it because I thought that was a good question. And hey, again, that's what one of my main missions are. Is I feel like I got a lot, very lucky. I was able to meet a lot of the right people early on that really helped answer all of my questions that I had about getting started in real estate. And I mean, they really kind of held my hand a little bit and mentored me and allowed me to get ultimately where I am today. So I'm super, super thankful for that. And I want to kind of reciprocate the same type of deal. So anytime there's a question that I have the answer to, I am more than happy to share the information. I know there's a lot of real estate courses out there and, even degrees that you can get in real estate investing. And I honestly, it's my opinion that you should not pay for any of those. Real estate is probably one of the oldest DIY, industries out there. I think you can find small mom and pop landlords back clear to the early 1800s, probably late 1700s. I mean, one of the things that I often reflect on when things start to seem like they're complicated is the fact that, hey, my brother and I, we purchased a duplex that was truly built in the 1800s as a duplex. It wasn't built as a big single family and then converted. It was legitimately a duplex. So it's been a cash flowing asset for the past 200 years, 100, 150, 200, somewhere in there. But, to that end, it's been going on for a very long time. So there's not much new information out there about how to invest in real estate. Sure, there are some changes in laws and whatnot that you're going to want to stay on top of. But for the most part, any information that you need is already out there, and likely because it's been around for so long, it might even be public domain. A lot of the staples that are the books that are staples, the knowledge. I mean, it's all public access at this point. So I think the most important thing that you can possibly do if you want to be successful in real estate investing is surround yourself with a network of people that are also real estate investors that have, portfolios similar to the ones that you want to build, or people that are in a similar spot, a similar starting point, that you can kind of lock arms with and say, hey, let's go on this journey together. I'm not talking about partnerships or anything, but just building portfolios side by side, bouncing ideas off of each other and really getting a grasp on how to do this. So yes, I do have a paid mastermind. It's $300 per month. It's called the Seek Wisdom Mastermind. There's a video on this YouTube channel. And for the foreseeable future, that is the only paid product that I ever am going to stand behind. I don't think real estate courses are, again, something that you should pay for. I don't think there should be, because I mean, just from my understanding on sitting in a couple of the people that sell these courses, sitting in on their like free presentation that tries to like rope you into buying their course, it's all done in a very strategic manner to make it seem like they have answers to the questions that you've been asking either in your head or out loud for quite some time. But the truth is, once inside of that paid course book, there's no new information. You could have sourced all of that information yourself for free, just given the legwork. Now, some people that have purchased the course made the argument that, hey, I got all the information that you're talking about in one source rather than trying to find little bits here and there. And sure, if that's the way you want to look at it. But at the end of the day, I just don't want anyone out there to think that what stands between them and having a successful real estate portfolio is this, $1,000 to $20,000 real estate course. And I mean, you could watch videos on it on YouTube, kind of the science behind the Tony Robbins or, real estate guru courses, the people that like layer these paywalls and, just the psychology that they implement in order to get you to do these things. So against that, I think, again, real estate, oldest DIY industry out there, maybe not, maybe cooking, maybe feeding yourself is older than real estate. Who knows? All right, let me check because I'm ranting about this. Anyway, I think this would be a good thing because I wrote the first novel. He had a follow-up question, and a second novel was put in place. And I think there are even some more comments, even beyond this. So, yeah, check it out. Again, 32 members at the moment. Let's try to get that up to 35 this morning, shall we? That'll be pretty solid. Let me refresh to see if anybody snuck in. Not quite yet, but I've got high hopes for this thing. And if anybody wants to participate in that pretty regularly, let me know if you have any hopes to being a moderator or something like that to just keep the conversation going and lively. Because I see, unfortunately, I've missed a few of the threads, which I'm going to respond to as soon as this gets done. Cosmic Wisdom, Cincinnati. Hey, man, our market, it's starting to catch up to yours, man. We have our property values are going up. One of the properties I saw another investor shared an appraisal report with me. These properties are ones that we've been buying for, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 for the past couple of years. And he just shared an appraisal report with me, 3-bed, bath and a half. Big house. I mean, it's like 1,700 square feet, but it appraised for like 106,000. We're coming for you, Cincinnati. We are coming very slowly. We don't have quite the downtown or the employers or anything else. It's going to be a long road, and we'll probably always be behind you. But still, in theory, I'm just happy to see that our market is appreciating so much. It's really encouraging. Did you ever put a mortgage on a house you paid cash for? Do they do inspections like a regular mortgage? So yes, we have. We often buy properties in cash and then put a mortgage on afterwards. That's kind of a big portion of our business model. And inspections are always something that are optional to the buyer. No banks are really too concerned with the inspection. I think the appraiser does like a light inspection, like, if, they have to rate, like, is the kitchen updated? Is the roof in moderately, good condition? Stuff like that. The appraisals are what banks will always do when they refinance something for you. And that's just to make sure that they don't actually lend more than they should on the property. Because again, banks are not interested in being in like the real estate investing space. So in the event that you default on the mortgage, they just want to make sure that they actually have a collateral of equal or greater value, generally always of greater value than the money they just lost or got defaulted on. So appraisals, yes, always happen. Inspections, up to you. We stopped doing inspections on all of our purchases, for better or worse. It's bit me a few times. It's saved me a couple. I think if you were to probably map out all the times that it bit me, that probably cost more than we would have spent just doing inspections. But I'm not sure. Inspections generally are $350 to $500 per property. So you can weigh it out. Now that I say it out loud, that's not true. We ended up ahead still without inspections. But again, we're doing this at a much larger scale. If you have like a portfolio that is just getting started or very small, if you're not familiar with the contracting side of things, I would always recommend that you get an inspection. That's the safest thing to do. I think when you start buying big packages of homes, I think that's when you need to make the decision of, hey, do I want to roll the dice, not pay for inspections, because inspections on the portfolio will be like $4,000. Yeah, really a personal decision that you'll have to make. But no, inspections are not required by most banks. Hard money lenders maybe, but all the hard money lenders have their own little opinions. Morning, thoughts on buying out-of-state property? I mean, I've never done it. I've never seen your username on here, so welcome. Thanks for logging on and asking the question. Yeah, I'm not an out-of-state investor. The insurance agency that I have, we have several clients that are out-of-state investors, and I would say that the ones that separate like from the average out-of-state investors to the ones that do a fantastic job really depends on their involvement and how often they come and visit the properties and the level of relationship that they have with the people up here that are looking after their properties. So I would say that the majority of them that are doing it very well from afar have contractors, realtors, or people that help them out in a big way. And when I say that, I mean generally they can ask somebody to go look at something for them, and they're doing it kind of pro bono because they know that if there is something wrong, they will do the work, or they will work with a property management company to get it done. So if you're going to use a property manager and you're out of state, I would definitely recommend forming a relationship, a really strong relationship with somebody that is local in the area, willing to go out and check on things for you that is, off of the invoice. And then I would regularly visit your properties. And again, I'm not down to take advantage. I just want to throw out another disclaimer of all that. I'm not suggesting that you try and find free labor or ask people to work for you for free. But, there are multiple people that if they asked me to drive by something, I would happily do it just because that relationship is there. So more of a favor built on a friendship rather than, working for free. But hey, maybe that's just semantics. Who knows? Good morning. I appreciate you joining as well. Man, this is exciting. We are 20 minutes in and we've got 10 people on. So feel free to post your questions in the chat, whatever you have. I've got this disclaimer running. Also, I'm going to promote this as much as I can. The real estate Reddit, the Talk Real Estate. Join it. Let's keep this conversation going. All right. I agree. Dayton will have to go up. Cincy is getting high. I see people heading north for cheaper houses, especially working in Butler County. Yeah, I see that a lot. Dapper D, what's up, man? Happy you're on here, especially for people working in Butler County. Yeah. Cincy's getting really, really high. Very impressive. So I've been looking at a lot of historical stuff on Dayton lately. Just to figure out, how we got here. There's tons of infrastructure here. Right now, I'm sitting in downtown Dayton, and the overall vacancy rate for the downtown buildings is about 40%, which is not good. But at one point, they were close to 100. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept building all of these big buildings. So just doing my research on why and all of that. I think a lot of people already know, but yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, Dayton is putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into the infrastructure here to improve it, to get it up to speed. And yeah, I think this place is going nowhere but up. So very optimistic. With bad credit, man, this is exciting. We've got a lot of new people on here. I've never seen your username either, DC Kailyn. That's awesome. I'm guessing you might live in DC, or those are just your initials. You know what? Done guessing. With bad credit, are there any options open on getting a loan? I mean, yes, there are. So I did a video, I think it's called Introduction to Real Estate. It's like a little mini series that the videos have like a black and yellow thumbnail, and it's just text. My face is not on it. And in that little series, what I attempted to do was highlight the two different paths of real estate investing. I think there's only two. I think you've got the people that have either bad credit, a low income job, or otherwise you're just not bankable, because real estate is an extraordinarily capital intensive industry. I mean, every problem, for better or worse, has a corresponding price tag. There's no free passes in real estate. Like when a resident calls to complain about something, the way to fix it is by spending money, whether it's $10 or $10,000, right? So having capital or access to capital is extraordinarily important. So there are people that have high income earning jobs, or they have already made a bulk of their money and they're looking for something to do with their money, so they get into real estate investing. The people that have high income W-2 jobs, those are the ones that the banks like freely give loans to, regardless of your circumstance. The other side, for people like the way that I started, I was not bankable. I didn't have bad credit, but I didn't have particularly good credit either. I like to kind of call it the light side versus the dark side, right? Because the dark side, not approved, not loved, not given loans by traditional banks. But one of the beauties of real estate is you can get as creative as you want. So like right now, we're purchasing a package of 11 properties. It's seller financed. There's a down payment involved, but other than that, the bank is not a part of that transaction. We met. We formed a solid relationship. There's a high level of trust on both sides. This transaction will work. And because she's interested in doing it with us, then again, no banks involved, no appraisals, no inspections. There's really nobody that can kind of mess that up. It's just creative financing. She has an issue, which are the burden of these 11 this package of 11 properties. She just doesn't want them anymore. I've got the opportunity to take them under control and do like the seller financing. So I'm solving that problem for her. And again, the relationship's there and the trust is high. So if you are not a high W-2 income earner and you are interested in creative financing, then yes, I would highly recommend that you try and find some videos on creative financing, which is like seller financing, doing land contracts. There are a few circumstances where we have purchased properties, so like with traditional mortgages. So we put 25% down, sort of, because we convinced the seller to hold that 25% as a second mortgage. So we have no money in the deal, and each month as the resident pays, well, regardless of whether or not they pay on a monthly basis, we're paying off the primary mortgage and the secondary mortgage on that property. But there was zero money out of our pocket. So the cool thing is banks are not necessary in real estate investing. You can circumvent them. It takes longer. It takes a lot more hours. You have to build a lot of relationships and rely on people to take bets on you. So you have to sell yourself. You have to make a good impression, have people believe in you. and you're really like your own salesperson to go out and say, hey, like, this is why you should help me. I promise I'll be a good steward of your beloved assets and strike up some sort of mutual deal. So I think because of that, real estate is a fantastic way if you are committed, if you're going all in, if you are bound and determined that, you know, real estate is the way that you are going to make it out of the pit that you're currently in. It's very easy. There are a lot of multimillionaires that got started with zero of their own dollars into it. Now, if you are going to do that creative financing way, and if you're building up a business model around having $0 of your own money into it, then, I mean, you have to be prepared because you are taking on an exorbitant amount of risk. And I think where I see most people that get involved in this type of real estate financing go wrong is that they get in with zero money down and they have no money. So in the event that a roof starts leaking or plumbing goes bad, then you're already like you're fighting against the current so hard because you can't pay for the things to take care of it. And believe me when I say I am not a fan of credit reports, and I am not a fan of like just the way that they're just it's just like a blanket across everyone. Everybody's judged the same. However, I will say that there is validity in the things that they rate. And I would say if you have a bad credit score, it's probably of extraordinary importance that you educate yourself on what goes into a credit score. And coincidentally, I made a video about how I messed up my credit score. And now, as a result, I know exactly what goes into forming your credit score. And unfortunately, I think either the bad credit scores or having an extraordinarily low amount of capital. Yes, there are unfortunate circumstances that have you arrive there at that predicament. However, there are also some very, like, there's a little bit of discernment that you have to make because there's also some discipline issues that you have to take control of in order to get yourself out of that, like credit score, like your payment history, right? So why haven't you been paying, right? Your utilization. Why are you so heavily utilized? Why are you utilizing so much of your credit? Anything like that. There's things that you have control of that when you start getting more money and when you start building a real estate thing, if those discipline issues are still there, then the issues that's going to cause is going to have a larger corresponding dollar value, and it's going to put you in a position that's more exposed because you now have more assets, more to lose, and more money flowing through your hands. So, I mean, you see it all the time. People that weren't prepared for the amount of money that they were about to make, like the Chris Tuckers of the world, that are at one point one of the highest paid actors, and they are severely, just grossly in debt. It's because the corresponding disciplines of money management were not there. So I've got another series of videos. I'm not trying to promote myself so hard this morning, but it's happening. Of like, I think it's called the Millionaire by 30 series. I think that's where I discussed this, where, if you find yourself in a position where you have no money or you have bad credit, it's not like you just magically arrived at that position. You made some decisions that led you to have the low credit score or the lack of money. And those are the decisions that you need to fix, analyze. Why did you make those? How will you prevent yourself from making them in the future? And then go from there. Fix those things so that when large amounts of money start coming your way, or even small amounts of money start coming your way, then you will eventually be wealthy because you're making more of the right decisions and less of the bad decisions. So, to that point, you hear all the time of people that, retired as millionaires off like $30,000 to $40,000 per year salaries because they made extraordinarily good decisions with the limited amount of resources that they had, which ultimately resulted in a surplus of resources. So, Long rant, very big tangent. I hope that was helpful to answering your question. If nothing else, it felt really good to extrapolate that train of thought. What are the papers that you need to make for pre-foreclosure or foreclosure homes? Irene, 27206. I'm hoping that's a zip code. And if that's the case, hello, fellow North Carolinian. Pretty sure all the 27s are in North Carolina. Let's see here. I don't know. I don't think there are anything that you need to do. I think on the pre-foreclosure side, I mean, the pre-foreclosure, if you want to purchase it from the owner that's being foreclosed on, then yes, you would need to create like a purchase or sale agreement, which you can just find, if you're in North Carolina, just type in like the North Carolina Area Board of Realtors, and they should have like a standard purchase agreement that you'd be able to use. If not, I'm sure you could just type in real estate purchase agreement and find one for whatever state that you're in, and go from there. If you are buying a foreclosure from an auction, then all of the paperwork necessary for you will be produced by whoever is putting the auction on. But unfortunately, as municipalities, as jurisdictions, as states change, so do the requirements for real estate transactions. So I would, again, my rant at first on how important it is that you surround yourself with like-minded people that also want to build like a real estate portfolio. You should probably also surround yourself with like some local investors that have experience in this type of stuff. And I know that's a frustrating answer, but at the same time, man, it's impossible to give the correct advice on paperwork necessary across all states. Oh man, this just made my day. Thanks, man. Hi, do you host any meetups? I live in Jersey and would love to visit Ohio for real estate investing. I don't, but hey, man, I am overwhelmingly motivated by all the new usernames that I'm seeing. I'm either getting botted by one person that is a really big fan, or the channel is getting some good growth. So thanks. This is awesome. I will consider that. I think that's a really good idea. I made a video about my 3-year goals, and on there, I really want to host like a massive annual pancake breakfast. And one of the guys in the mastermind group regularly reminds me that I have not planned it for this year, and it's a massive disappointment to him. So I realized that I am horrible at planning such large events. So rather than acting like I am going to do it at some point, once I quote unquote find the time, I need to just go ahead and realize that I need to get a lot of help in planning that. And I think I would love to eat pancakes, help other people eat pancakes by providing it to them, and talk real estate. I think that is a fantastic way to both make sure that everybody gets an appropriate amount of pancakes to eat and talk real estate. If capital is not an issue, where would you look into investing in real estate? So if capital is not an issue, most people that have this problem are more concerned or become more concerned about how they spend their time. So if you are somebody where capital is not an issue and it's your capital, and I would just ask yourself, is real estate investing something that you want to spend a lot of your time doing? You see a lot of these people talk about real estate as a passive investment. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. If you attempt to do it at any scale whatsoever, then not passive at all. It takes a lot amount. It's just so capital intensive. You really have to mind your P's and Q's. Even if you outsource everything, you still have to stay on top 100% all the time of the money coming in and going out. even if you have, property management in place and all of that, because at some point, if you're not monitoring it and asking questions, then slowly you'll see your either your cash going in greatly decrease or your cash going out greatly increase, right? So it's your business, and you need to monitor it all the time. So if capital is no issue, then I would look into probably your surrounding market at the moment. If it is overinflated and your money could go a lot further elsewhere, then I would just look into markets that you're interested in playing an active role in. I'm a huge fan of doing like a more holistic approach to real estate investing, right? Like it would not appeal to me whatsoever just to say, hey, this is the best performing market in America, I'm going to go invest there, right? Like I love Dayton. As I was talking about earlier, I'm looking into the history of this place, and as lame as cheesy and as corny as it sounds, like my heart is to help make Dayton a better place through single family home investing, right? Like each property, I put a lot of pride of ownership in it, and I'm trying to figure out like how to strategically rehab a lot of the properties in the problem areas, because they're only problem areas because there's an extensive amount of vacancies. So like just vacant, abandoned homes. So I think the number like 8,000 homes at one point, like 30% of Dayton's housing stock was vacant, which is roughly like, I think like, I don't know, a lot higher than 7,000. But yeah, I think I would say long-term impact, a market that makes good returns where you can also have a positive long-term impact is where I would be looking. Now, if capital is not an issue, but you have no intentions of spending your time in real estate investing, then I would do one of two things. I would either invest in some sort of like REIT or multifamily syndication, and allow like the operators to handle all of the things that I just said. Or, if you want to support the little man a little bit more than these hedge funds or, large apartment syndicators, then I would say just find somebody with like a single family home portfolio and see how you can use your capital to help support them. So, I mean, we borrow money very regularly from friends and family that, sure, they really love making returns, but they're also, really excited to help us and our vision. So that's what I would say. Morning, not sure if this was asked before. Can you do a video on buying investment properties in other states? Also, please shed some light on rehab estimates. Many thanks. I think this is a great idea. And this is one of the reasons, like there's one fellow on here that always talks about, why my YouTube channel isn't growing and whatnot. And I've got no experience in out-of-state investing. Consequently, I have no business talking about investing in out-of-state. I can point to tons of people that have done it, but I myself have no experience. So sure, I know it's searched a lot. I know that if I did a YouTube video about it, I would probably get tons of views, but I'm not going to speak outside of my wheelhouse just for the sake of like YouTube growth. So the only thing that I can say about out-of-state investing is kind of like what I said earlier, is mind your P's and Q's, monitor your income, monitor your expenses, ask a lot of questions on whoever is monitoring your properties. And I just learned that from watching some of the insurance clients that I have who are out-of-state investors, like wrestle through being profitable out-of-state investors. And I would say regularly visit your properties. And, that's all stuff that I've just gleaned from watching people do it well. As far as your second question about rehab estimates, those also vary from place to place. And the rehab estimates also vary from contractor to contractor. So it depends on like your labor rates for wherever you are. It depends on how much of a relationship you have with those contractors. I know a lot of contractors that work with investors are willing to charge less because they know that the investors have the ability to keep them busy year round. So you can start getting things done a lot cheaper. I mean, now like when I first started, we would always allocate about $5,000 for a bathroom. That's like an investor price. If you are asking a contractor to go into your personal home to redo a bathroom, then they're likely going to charge about $10,000. Whereas now, because the relationships that we have, the volume that we're able to provide, and just the efficiency that we've been able to do. I mean, we just recently did a bathroom for maybe $2,000, and I mean that's just very slightly above the material costs. So it really depends. It really varies, and it's something that I think I think one of my favorite things about real estate investing is it is not a black and white industry. It is not a this is right, this is wrong. It is all just like one big kind of fluid trial and error, artistic kind of relationship building, and just helping people like formulate win-win approaches. Right. So making clean cut videos, probably not something that would be beneficial to anyone. It would be more misleading and misinformation out there than anything else. So I would say about rehab costs. I mean, I think the most beneficial thing that you could do to really rein those in is make an exhaustive and just like a very line by line itemized scope of work. And I would take that scope of work and that would include number of square feet of flooring, like the room dimensions of each room, how many outlets are in each room, how many cabinets you want in the kitchen, and just get as granular on the scope of work as possible. Now, that's not going to work for situations where like there's a hole in the roof, right? Because you're not going to be able to figure out how much of the wood is rotted until you start getting in there, tearing things out. That's going to always be a gray area. But the more granular you can get on your scope of work, then you can go out and have a few contractors bid that. You can get an idea of the labor costs, and then you can also figure out like what type of finishes you're interested in. When you're walking through like Home Depot or Lowe's. So you can figure out what kind of quality of that and how much you're going to spend, because that would vary a lot as well. We don't put bottom grade stuff in our properties. We're more of like the middle of the road type fellas. So we could do things for cheaper, but we don't, because we want all of these properties to be very, very well maintained and rehabbed with materials to last, because we have every intention of having these properties in our portfolio for the next 50, 60, 70 years. 70 years would put me right at 101. So wouldn't that be fun to be like 101 and have owned properties for 70 years and have the ability to go back and say, yep, these things look spectacular? Because most of the thing about real estate investing is if you own it for 70 years, you're going to replace everything in the house at least once. I think that's, when you buy properties from distressed or tired landlords, I think is what most people call them. There's generally some sort of disrepair, but they have memories of doing those repairs, a couple decades ago. Thanks. Beyond helpful. I'm in New York, by the way. Awesome. Best advice to increase your credit score: get 3 credit cards, have each one automatically pay into monthly bills, one for cell phone bill, one for cable internet, and one for subscriptions like Netflix. Your credit will boost in the 700s within 6 to 9 months if you pay all of them on time. Hey, no, that's not the zip. Man, bummer. Well, hey, it was worth a shot. 27206. Let's see if that is in North Carolina, since we reached the bottom of the comment section. 7206. 27206, postal code in Spain. What in the world? (27206). Well, hey, I was wrong. I was very wrong. I'm not from Spain. All right, so since we're at the bottom of the comment list, let's see here. Post your questions in the chat. And then also, if you haven't already, Go ahead and join that talk real estate community. I've got some music playing very light in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. And when I came into my office this morning, it was already playing. Yesterday, before I left, I asked it to play bluegrass. And now it's playing something that sounds a lot like Michael Jackson. So I guess it exhausted the bluegrass playlist and it just moved on to something that it thought it could just, just pulled a fast one. Raul, good morning. What are the requirements for a portfolio loan? I have no idea, man. Let's see here. So the cool thing, again, talking about how there's no black and white in real estate and everything is kind of subjective, is that all of the banks, especially on portfolio loans, they are well within their right, because it's their money, to stipulate whatever requirements they want to on that property. So as far as portfolio loans go, I mean, since banks are keeping them in-house, they're not selling them to Fannie, Freddie, or any other entity. They're likely going to keep them in their portfolio, especially if you work with a local one. Now, a mentor of mine, he's done a lot of portfolio loans, generally about 50 properties at a time. And they were recently sold to like one of the bigger banks, which is funny because one of the bigger banks never would have wrote the initial loan. But it's funny that they bought it on the secondary market after it was already established and performing after a couple of years, right? But anyway, to kind of bring it back home, it's very subjective to like what bank you're working with. So I often tell people and make statements here. I mean, you all know my brother is my partner in all of this. And just as fervently as I look for properties to purchase, my brother looks for banks that are willing to work with us. So oftentimes, whenever we're going into like a portfolio loan, we will get all of the properties, we'll get our opinions of value, we'll get like the numbers just all packaged up neatly in like an Excel spreadsheet. And then he will send it out to different lenders, having them quote out like what they're willing to do for it. So, yeah, I think one of the things that I say a lot on this channel that I heard once, and I just thought it was so clever that I'm going to repeat it for the rest of my life, is he who has the gold makes the rules. And once you start getting out of those cookie cutter financial instruments products like your auto loans or your personal home mortgage, it gets a lot more like less clear and a lot more subjective to whatever the bank really wants to do. This is really exciting. Also, so many new folks on here, but not you, Tom, but I'm happy to see you back on here. Thanks, man, and good morning. Also, one thing that I've completely forgot to mention that I'm going to do a video likely later today on, because I'm super pumped about it, is the app came out. So would you consider a virtual live video tour visiting some of your properties? I've visited a lot of the properties in like the Deals Explained videos. I don't know. I mean, I think that would probably make a good video, but I think it would be pretty strange. Just like from a me doing it perspective of, hey guys, here's this house. I don't know. I think the Deals Explained videos, I think they capture like the deal. I don't know if you've watched those yet, but generally what I'll do is just I'll explain. I'll go through the property or show like a bunch of pictures of the property, and I will go over like the numbers. What we bought it for, where I found the deal, what our real expenses are and what the cash flow is, what the mortgage is. And generally I'll also go over the details of the private mortgage that we got from like a friend or family member and the terms that we agreed to. So a lot of our terms are like 10 and 12% with like a 3 to 4 year balloon payment. But generally we've been doing about one big refinance every like 8 months, maybe. That's like what we're on pace to keep that record going. So even though they have 3 to 4 year balloons, they're also, they're also getting refinanced probably within about 8 months. Touring a neighborhood, analyzing the neighborhood. I'm not opposed to doing that. Trying to think about the logistics of that. Maybe I need to partner with like those Google cars that go through and have their cameras on their roof. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I just, every real estate market is so different. But I guess I could go over like tour an area and say, this is why I'm staying away from this area. But it's just personal preference. Like nothing that I could say would be factual. It would all just be based on like gut feelings that I get while driving through places. I know like Trulia has a good like crime map, an interactive crime map based on like the number of reports and whatnot. And you can scroll through neighborhoods pretty well there. I found that to be pretty accurate. And then, pretty much like turning around an area, you kind of have to have like the city behind it, and the city saying, yes, we are putting, like right now there's a spot in Durham, like the Salem corridor on Salem Avenue. The city is focusing on that area, and they are putting a lot of their resources and time into fixing that, making it a lot more presentable. Consequently, the home values in that area are going up, and the people moving to that area is going up significantly. So I don't necessarily know that doing like a subjective tour through the neighborhood and me giving my personal opinions would be that great. However, I do think talking about how to analyze an area based on like what the city's plans are, the proximity to amenities, school districts, and things that like go into forming an opinion about an area. But again, it's all very subjective. Like some people just don't care about school districts, and I pretty much err on that side of things. So yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. And again, just like talking about this YouTube channel and thinking through like what I want to do and the things I'm attempting to accomplish. I mean, answering questions, I really like doing that. Making videos that are more opinion than factual, or less, are more like theoretical than actionable, are things that I try to stay away from. I try to stick to things that are pretty well factual and based on, like real life cases. So, yeah. One of the things that I'm really fighting is making videos just for making the videos' sakes, hoping that new people see the videos and growing the YouTube channel. Because again, not trying to go outside of my little super duper tiny microscopic area or area of expertise. All right, 12 people on the live stream, feeling super excited. I think this ball that I'm sitting on has lost a bunch of air. It is more difficult than usual to sit on today. All right, 56 minutes in. We've got 12 people on. That's an awesome size classroom, and I know many of you share that behind that little number that is you, there are 2 or 3 other people watching. So I appreciate all of you. I'm a huge fan of you. Very happy that you're on, and also very thankful that you're asking questions. So if you haven't already, think of something that you want to ask in the chat. If you think I'm moving my neck really weird a lot today, then that's because I am. I saw a picture of myself looking at a property yesterday, and my neck was super hunched over. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm not allowing my spine to grow that way. So I think posture is very important. If I keep at this, then I'm not. I've seen those like full body back braces that increase your posture. I'm not above wearing one of those. I really don't want to. I really don't want to get too hunchy as life goes on. All right. Any questions you got? Happy to answer them. Questions in the chat? Let's see here. In the meantime, while you guys are thinking, I'm going to push the Reddit community. I really would be very appreciative if you joined that and told your friends about it. I would really like to grow that Reddit because, again, just based on what I really find enjoyment out of is answering questions for people that are willing to take action on the answers that they receive. So the most direct way to do that is like a more conversational thing. I think YouTube is an awesome platform. I'm super thankful for it, but having that real conversational vibe doesn't really quite happen. So the Reddit, I think that'll give us a little bit more ability to do so. And I've had an awesome time typing out like long responses. I think I really appreciate kind of long form content, not these little snippets of, hey, look at this house, redid the floors, stuff like that. It's not helpful. It's more of a, hey, look at me type deal. So yeah, Reddit, conversational. Hey, I've got this problem. How do I fix it? I like that. So I'm really looking to grow that community, and I would love any of the help that you're interested in doing on that. Also, this Seek Wisdom Mastermind, seek-wisdom.com/join, specifically for dudes. It's $300 per month, and in there, I mean, I've recorded probably like a 40-minute video about like what my aspirations and goals are for that. So I would highly encourage you to check it out. We have we're starting to get some really heavy hitters in there, along with some newer people. So I'm really pumped about it. There's let's see here, a guy down in Cincinnati that owns a couple of businesses, along with like 70 units. There's another guy in another one of the groups that he's got about 90 properties. It's not us. He's got about 90 and another 70 under contract. He's buying a massive portfolio, and he's going to walk away with about $2 million of equity in that deal once he gets everything back up to speed. It's just been grossly mismanaged for the past couple of years. There are a lot of investors in Ohio. There are some others in different states. There are some lenders in the groups. And there are also some other people there's a lot of people that are just starting, trying to work through getting their own deal. And it's just like a really powerful thing for those people to be able to interact with, run ideas past people that have actually done it. And there's one guy that just joined. Super excited about him. I'm actually going to interview him on the channel in the future because he is 19. He's done about 50 wholesale transactions, and he's on pace to do, I think, about 5 or 6 flips this year. And I mean, that is awesome. I mean, he's got a fantastic story, and it's just really exciting to see people take massive action and really just trying to improve their overall financial position and just trajectory of life. So anything that kind of fights that stigma of wasn't born with it, so I can't have it. Surrounding ourselves with like-minded people for encouragement and whatnot, super fun. If you have any questions, do not email me anymore. Do not email this email address. Hop on over to the Reddit and let's talk there. Because one of the things that I'm really looking forward to kind of capturing in that Reddit community is the same thing that's happening in this mastermind group, but for free. And that's that the members of this community get to actually help each other and provide value to one another. So that'll be tons of fun to see that come to fruition. I caught the tail end of you mentioning leaving 25% of the seller's equity in the deal as the second mortgage. Can you talk about that some more? Sure. So man, Greg, you're one of the good ones. I really appreciate seeing you on here all the time. But you've asked me a question that I don't really know how to expound on anymore. So I guess if you're to do like a 75% traditional loan, then whatever bank you're using, I know we used Huntington. They carried 75% of it. And then I don't quite remember the series of events. I don't know if we just created a second position mortgage at the same time of closing. Yes, no, that's exactly what we did. So the second position was created at the time of closing, to where really all we did was pay closing costs, but we didn't have any money down. So we signed the first position mortgage at the same time that we signed the second position mortgage. So because the seller is the one that was selling the property, Huntington, to the title company, wired their 75%. We signed their notes. It was released to the seller. The seller did not wire any money to the title company. She just held the 25% down payment. So she got a check for 75% of the sale price. And now we signed the second position mortgage, and we've been paying her on a monthly basis along with that. And I think, Greg, that's the most I know how to say about it, unless you have additional questions about how that wasn't a complete answer. How would you analyze a house for your personal home, investor hat versus commercial consumer hat? That's a great question, as I am currently looking at getting another personal home. So I would say it really depends on what type of home you're about to purchase and where you are in your life, right? Like if like when we purchased this home that we live in now, so I analyzed it in two ways, and that is, am I able to get any sort of discount on it? Do I think it's mispriced? Do I have any abilities to make improvements immediately to add equity, right? Like you don't want to pay market value for your house. And then, you also want to be very conscientious of how much that mortgage payment is going to be on a monthly basis compared to what it will rent out for. So then the same as you would analyze any other rental property, you would take this one and the house that you're looking to purchase for a primary residence, you would take it and you would just plug it into the same app, which now is live on the App Store. You can type in Ingram Rental Calculator, and this app that we created will now show up, and you can plug in all of your numbers and make sure that you are doing a fantastic job. Let's see. Check that out. Isn't that pretty? You just have to go to the App Store and download it yourself, I think. Property details. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. This is really exciting for me. So there are 3 tabs on this app: the rental calculator, the loan calculator, which you can just put in the amount. So let's do $30,000 for the term. Let's do 5 years at 10%. And now you know that there is boy, this is a bad thing to do. This is not helpful. And I can't read that either. So now the monthly payment is $637.41. The monthly interest is $137.41. And the total interest over the life of that loan will be $8,244.68. So I like that a lot. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is you can save your rental calculations on this. And it is a very non-invasive app. When I say that, I mean, I'm not asking for your personal information. This app will not store your personal information. It will not store your deals or any data about you. It saves locally to your phone, not to any sort of cloud. So you don't need to make an account. If you analyze a bunch of properties and save them all and then lose your phone, well, your calculations are lost, but that's the price you pay for not living on the cloud. Off the grid. It's an off the grid app. How do you buy an auction house for like $8,000? Well, I hope I answered that completely, Tom. So the house that I live in, my mortgage payment's like $1,200 and something bucks, and that is including the taxes and the insurance. Everything in there is moderately new, so I know that it'll rent out likely for like the $1,500 to $1,600 per month mark. So at that point, I know that it is going to be cash flow positive, and I would just need to make sure that we have enough to handle any repairs, maintenance, or capital expenditures along the way. And I'm happy with that. So Nova Knight, also, thanks for being here. I've never seen your username before, so this is exciting. And I mean, I really just think it is a matter of finding a decent property that has the low minimum bid, and then really hoping that nobody else shows up and bids it higher than what you're willing to pay. You know, I've been at a few of the auctions, and it's just funny. Like, you have people that show up that the minimum bid's like $2,000, and they are just super excited. They think they're going to be the only ones there to bid on it. They get it up to like $6,000 or $7,000, and then somebody just comes and crushes their dreams with like a $30,000 bid. Just so dejected. I remember like one couple in particular that showed up that had high hopes of going home with that property for, you know, lesser than $10,000. And you know, I think it was one of those ones where like the bank showed up, so they bid it like immediately to like the amount that's currently owed to them on it. So I think with auctions, I mean, everybody that I know that does a lot of auction properties, they've lost 4 to 5 times more than they've won. Right now, there are other people that are extraordinarily selective, do tons of due diligence, and you know, a ton of research on the properties beforehand, and figure out like what the auction will come to. But auctions are starting to get really competitive, and there's still good deals to be had out there. I know there are a lot of investors still buying properties at auction, and somebody on the Dr. Brett Wickstrom on the Reddit community just posted that he just won his first auction. So it's still a real thing out there, and it's still being done well. But it's really just a matter of trial and error. Sorry, I don't have a better answer than that. Are there books for auctions or foreclosures? I don't really think so. And if there were, I don't think they would be very accurate, because I think they could educate you about the process. I know there are some books about tax liens and whatnot, but in Ohio, tax liens are different than anything I've ever read in any of those books. So auctions and foreclosures are kind of both ran on like a county by county basis. So it really depends on municipalities as to what the rules and whatnot are. Now, the things that are universal are like how, like the process or the thought behind like the legal aspects of foreclosing or foreclosures. But as far as the like how they function, I think it's different from place to place. It's about how much DD you put in the project. Due diligence. DD due diligence. Luke B. What's up, man? Thanks for coming on here. As quickly as you answered that question, I really, really would appreciate it if you go over and join this Reddit community and help answer some questions for new people. That would be awesome. I say new people like I know you. I don't know you, but I'm assuming as quickly as you just said that. Can you actually get foreclosed houses without an auction? Well, different companies put on auctions like auction.com. Not all auctions are equal. All foreclosures are likely auctions, but not all auctions are foreclosures, if that makes sense. Anybody can hold an auction. I'm friends with a person that just put his house, like he did like a private auction for his home. So, I mean, it's the same principle, but it's not directly linked to foreclosures. So, yeah, that's one of those fun things. Like all ducks are birds, but not all birds are ducks. All foreclosures are auctions, but not all auctions are foreclosures. That's funny. Ducks. All right. Any other questions? 10 people on, hour in. I think this is going to be a little bit shorter of one today. So likely going to skedaddle around 9:45 or so. What type of return on investment have you been getting? Infinite, H. Infinite. So I say that kind of to be funny and kind of to not be. So most, like our entire business model now revolves around not putting any of our own money into deals. So if we're not putting any of our own money into the deals that we're doing, then you can't really calculate our return on investment because there isn't any initial investment. So it's an infinite return. So any amount of money that we make is a massive, massive return on investment. Now, I think what's common, I mean, again, it varies by market, the cap rate of the market, you know, what the purchase price of the rents are. One of the things that we really try to focus on is we want our properties to be to satisfy the 2% rule or as close to it as possible. Because the market's increasing, we've been making a lot more concessions than we have, but we've also been achieving it pretty well. So 2% rule, if we buy a house for $40,000 or $100,000, we want it to be able to rent out on a monthly basis for at least 2% of the purchase price. So we bought a house for $40,000, we want to rent it out for $800. If we bought it for $100,000, we want to rent it out for $2,000. This is pretty difficult to achieve in a lot of markets. It's easy to achieve in most of the Midwest markets. Most common, you see about the 1% properties. So if you buy a property for $100,000, you can rent it out for $1,000 per month. Dayton might be headed there soon, and I wouldn't be too mad if it does. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for letting me word ducks. Talk about ducks. That was fun. All right. 11 people on. Any questions you have in the chat? Got my disclaimer rolling. I didn't realize I left that sequism.com/join on for so long. But hey, you should definitely join if you watch the video and you think it's something that you would benefit from. If not, go over and join the Reddit community. That would be awesome. Let's see. How do you feel about partnership deals, creating an LLC? One person has good credit, the other has a lot of cash on hand. I mean, I think one of the best things you could do from like a long-term perspective in any business that you have is hold on to as much of the equity as you can. So, I mean, in the short term, it seems like a pretty utilitarian relationship. One has, they both have strengths and weaknesses, and the other's strengths fill that. I would avoid it. I would try to, if you're the person with good credit and no cash, I would try very diligently to fix your cash problem. If you are the person that has a bunch of cash and bad credit, I would try diligently to fix that cash problem. If you're the person with a lot of cash and bad credit, then I would say I would try really hard to kind of double down while you're fixing your credit issue. I would double down on trying to find creative financing, albeit seller financing, buying distressed properties in cash, things along that line, while fixing your credit. And if you're the person with good credit but no cash, I would try diligently to figure out ways to, as quickly as possible, increase your cash position. If you're not using your own money to purchase property, whose money are you using? That's a good question. So we raise a lot of money from friends and family on first position mortgages. So we borrow money at 10 and 12%, generally interest only for the first 2-3 years of a loan, and it's secured by the property. And generally, when we borrow money, when we borrow private money, we are borrowing 100% of the purchase price plus the renovations cost. However, our formula is purchase price plus renovations cost is less than 75% of the after repair value. So in that case, we borrow the money. It's enough to purchase the property, do the rehab. At closing, we sign the first position mortgage that puts a lien on the property for the private investor. So it's secured by the property. And then we make all the repairs, we get the property rented, we have whatever seasoning the bank requires, and then we approach a real traditional lender, a real bank. And since the purchase price plus the renovation is less than 75% of the after repair value or the appraised value, then we go to the traditional bank, we do a refinance. The bank generally does 75% loan to value. And with the bank's money, we pay off that short-term 10 to 12%, 2 to 3 year loan. So the investor gets all their capital back. That first position mortgage gets released and then subsequently replaced by the bank. And now this bank, it's on 20 to 30 year money that's fully amortized. So now the cash flow from the property is paying down that mortgage payment. So I guess it's a combination between private money and bank money. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Are you planning to sell some of your properties to get the ultimate max ROI? Or are these long-term 25 plus 30 years until you can't handle them anymore? Yeah, we're not really planning on selling any. We have sold a couple properties that have just kind of been either sitting on our books that we haven't done anything with, or ones that have dramatically increased in equity because they were just in the right areas. So we've been kind of strategic. We also, so as I've mentioned before, I mean, we are heavily focused in one area. So the properties that are the outliers that fall outside of that geographical radius and that have either experienced a very large appreciation or because I love single family homes and I don't like multifamily homes, we're also looking to sell some of our multifamilies because it just falls outside of our, the most of our systems and processes, because you just fundamentally you treat multifamilies differently than single families. So the multifamilies kind of, there's always a couple hiccups trying to run them through our systems and processes. It's not as fluid as our single family stuff. So we've thought about selling some of those. We've only sold one property so far, but our overarching plan is to hold all of our properties for millions of years. I don't know what a million-year property would look like. I guess the Earth. 1,000-year property, the pyramid's been hanging out for a while. There's some really old structures. Stonehenge. Start building properties once the market continues to increase. Model our floor plans off Stonehenge so they last forever. It'll be funny. All righty. Any questions you might have, feel free to post them. Otherwise, this thing is about to come to an end. Let's see. Sounds like you make your system work. You have to have a family member or friend with deep pockets that allows you to borrow at 10, 12%. I mean, I would say there's a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks that I would suggest that you read. Also, like The Magic of Thinking Big. It's human nature to, I would say this is like a limiting thought. As soon as you have it, just doors just start closing in front of you, right? You just brought in a bunch of assumptions that, albeit right or wrong, limited your ability to do it, right? So dangerous, not productive. I would say no. And I would say that rather than making a statement like this, try and figure out and educate yourself around like how it's done, which more than happy to do. So deep pockets, no. The demographic of our friends or family members, none of them would describe themselves as having deep pockets. A lot of these properties that we're purchasing, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 homes, I would say our average loan amount is between $50,000 and $60,000. $50,000 to $60,000 for a lot of our lenders is an extraordinary amount of money, because it is. In some cases, we're talking the bulk of potential retirement funds, right? So it's a massive undertaking, and we don't take it lightly. It's very serious. It's secured by a first position mortgage, and it's over collateralized, right? Which is why banks limit it to 75%, so that they receive more. They receive something of more value than the loan is. Also, some of our lenders, they have learned and educated themselves on like self-directed IRAs. So anytime someone, they leave a job, they have like a 401k with that employer, they can roll that over into a self-directed IRA. And with a self-directed IRA, they can lend to they have like checkbook control over it. So it doesn't have to be a 401k, historically in stocks, all of that. It doesn't have to be. If you roll it over to a self-directed IRA, you can lend it to whoever you want to, really. I mean, there are some prohibited people that you really, again, it's really important when you start messing around with financial instruments that you have a decent grasp and you consult with the appropriate professionals to figure that out. And I think once you put together a solid business plan, once you have a track record behind your belt, and once people like start believing in you, I think you'd be really surprised at the people that are already in your network that are sitting on money that might not look like it. It's not like any of our investors have these like luxury cars that you would see, right? I'm actually willing to say that none of our investors have those. And a lot of our investors are very unexpected. Like you wouldn't expect them to have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, right? So I would say, just doing like rough demographics, I would say the majority of our investors' net worth is probably lesser than $1 million. I would say a handful of them are 1 to, let's say, 3 million. And then a very, very small amount would be the 4 million plus. So, I guess, that's one of those subjective things. Deep pockets, right? It means different things to different people. So I would highly, I mean, I all of those things that I just said, hey, maybe to you it is deep pockets, but I just think once you start, you know, working this plan, then you would be surprised at the amount of money that people are willing to lend you. Um, when we first started, we purchased our first property, which was a duplex, in cash. $35,000 is what we bought it for. I used my own money to buy that. The second property that we purchased was with a traditional loan, so I put 25% down. I purchased it for $28,000, so that was $7,000 down. Again, my own money, and the reason that I had 35,000 was because I lived on. So when I was in law enforcement, the entire time I was in law enforcement, I lived on less than 50% of what I made, which was extraordinarily tight. When I got into law enforcement, I was 21. And I just lived off one of the paychecks and saved the other. And sure, I mean, I lived in a very, very small apartment. But I never, when I started, I was making 33 grand a year. And then when I left, I was making like 43. But during that time, I was able to save, like 6 or 7 years, I was able to save like 70 or 80 grand. And then I made an additional like 30 to 45 grand when we sold our primary residence and moved. So it's kind of fuzzy on like properties 3 through 8. That's when my brother and I partnered up and became like 50-50 partners. I know we did a little bit of seller financing on some of the properties, and then a couple more like traditional mortgages. So yeah, just be really careful when you're making statements like that. That's all. No. So this plan is not in a book or software, but now it's all over my YouTube page, especially in like the deals explained. I go through like each deal, what the numbers were, what the loan amount that I got was, the names of the books that you suggested to read. Magic of Thinking Big. There's that one, and then The Big Leap. His last name is Hendricks, Gay Hendricks. The Magic of Thinking Big, that guy's name is Schwartz. And I would say, like, you know, again, not beating you up. I mean, it's everyone's human nature. And I mean, all the way up, people do it, is they have this ceiling of like what they perceive. And it's not true. But before they even try, they kind of limit their brain and say, well, that's just not possible for me because of X, Y, and Z. But if you look deeper, it comes out of this weird fear. I mean, Gay Hendricks calls it like upper limiting. And I would say most successful people spend a large chunk of their time fighting through those perceived ceilings that they have and work on like their mental space. Because even the people that like you see that are like bigger than life, that think that they can do anything that they put their mind to, when they're alone, when they are, you know, when something adverse happens, there's still that glimpse of, oh no, like I'm a fraud. I'm one of those, I'm like an imitator, you know? So yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. All right. Well, it is 9:30. We've reached the end of the comment section. And let's see. Unless there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. All righty. Well, hey, next week, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, I'll be right here really looking forward to answering your questions. And in the meantime, go ahead and join the subreddit so that we can keep on talking. And also download the Ingram rental calculator app. All righty. I will see you all next week.